Okay, Variety, April the 14th, 2026. Dune 3 wows CinemaCon with 7-minute opening scene featuring brutal battle as Timothée Chalamet dominates the galaxy. So I really enjoyed part 1, and part 2 was pretty great as well. Let's see what they say about part 3. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. Timothée Chalamet's Paul Atreides may be firmly ensconced as the Pashidah Emperor. Footage from Dune Part 3 that Warner Brothers and Legendary released at CinemaCon on Tuesday makes clear ruling the galaxy comes at great cost, particularly if that means you can't run off into the sunset with the woman you actually love, Chani, and instead have to be trapped in a marriage of political necessity to Florence Pugh's Princess Irulan. Oh, and your followers have launched a jihad in your name that's causing the body count to climb to dizzying heights. So this is a nice summation of Dune Part 2, but it does kind of raise the issue that I think exists for the movie and also for the book that it's based on. So Dune Messiah is the second book, I believe, and in terms of themes, in terms of what happens in the book, I will definitely say there are some really interesting things, but there are some issues as well. But let's carry on. Director Denis Villeneuve and 3 of his stars, Chalamet, Zendaya and Jason Momoa, took the stage in Las Vegas to introduce a 7-minute long clip of the opening scene of Dune Part 3, and things get violent, loud and deadly fast. I guess what they're doing in this opening scene is showing the cost of what Paul Atreides has done in the first 2 books, what he's achieved. Dune Part 3 picks up 17 years after the prior instalment, and Chalamet said that his Paul has become his worst vision. At one point in the footage, Momoa's character tells Paul, "You've conquered the galaxy, you've destroyed thousands of worlds, I think you are way beyond redemption." Okay, so this kind of gets to the heart of the potential issues with the film Part 3 and with the book Messiah. So for me, Dune is one of the greatest books ever. It's not even really science fiction. It's barely genre fiction at all. What I think Dune the book, is an examination of the cost of power and moral choices. So it's about Paul Atreides and how he becomes externally successful, but basically at the cost of his soul, at the cost of destroying thousands of worlds. And all of those ideas, they're in the first book. Everything there is contained in the first book, like the sacrifice of himself that Paul Atreides makes in order that he succeeds means that terrible things happen. It's all there in the first book, and I think the mistake that many people have made when they read Dune is they think that Paul Atreides is the hero, and he's obviously, I think, not the hero. And to be honest, Dune Part 2 captures this really well. If you look, for example, at the character of Stilgar, played by Javier Bardem. So at the beginning of the movie, at the beginning of Part 2, Stilgar is very adult, he's very mature, he's very reasonable. And over the course of the movie, he sort of degenerates into this true believer, into this follower who doesn't really respect Paul Atreides' opinion, just sees him as the Muad'Dib, is just a religious fanatic. My concern with this here, you've conquered the galaxy, you've destroyed thousands of worlds. It makes plain what should be obvious if you're watching Dune Part 2, or reading the book with an open mind. So Messiah, for example, I think it's a good book. I think it's well written, but it doesn't really add anything as such. I mean, all the ideas in Dune Messiah exist in the first book, but let's carry on talking. Let's carry on reading. Even though Paul's life has gotten more complicated and his hold over the Fremen has grown more toxic, Dune Part 3 promises the same epic sweep of the first two films. Clearly, Villeneuve knows how to turn an impenetrable and famously difficult literary material into something truly cinematic and sweeping. So Villeneuve, I've absolutely got a lot of time for Denis Villeneuve. So stuff like Blade Runner 2049, Sicario, Arrival. I think he's made some great films, and in that respect, I'm really looking forward to Dune Part 3. So Dune Part 3 brings back many cast members from the previous films, Rebecca Ferguson, Charlotte Rampling, Javier Bardem, and gives some performers, notably Anya Taylor-Joy, substantially more to do. There's also some new additions like Robert Pattinson as the villainous Side-Tail, and one notable returnee, Momoa, resurrected as a Gola, I'm not really sure. Warner Brothers went all out with Dune as the conclusion to its CinemaCon presentation. The studio brought out dozens of Fremen, some of whom were dangling from the ceiling on wires, that sounds pretty awesome, to grace the stage before Villeneuve took the stage to introduce the footage. Villeneuve teased that Part 3 will take the story in a new direction. I didn't want to walk in my own footsteps, I wanted to do something new. The filmmaker described the first movie more meditative, more contemplative. I would agree. The second as a war movie. I would agree. With that in mind, Villeneuve says the third is a thriller. It's more action-packed, faster-paced and more emotional. So Dune Messiah, it's a bit of a political thriller. So there's all these different factions. But honestly, in the book, Dune Messiah isn't... like all the different elements of a good sci-fi are there, but it doesn't really come across as well. Like the first Dune book, it's very much concentrated on Paul Atreides, on his moral decisions, and Messiah's just a bit obvious about its message. I think it's not quite as skillful. It's not really necessary. I mean, I read at one time that Frank Herbert wrote Messiah because people misunderstood the first book. They thought that Paul Atreides was a hero instead of a guy who makes moral choices so that he succeeds externally but at the cost of his soul. Villeneuve, who will soon be making the next James Bond movie, I didn't know that, has promised Dune Part 3 will bring Paul's arc to a satisfying conclusion. That doesn't necessarily mean giving him a happy ending. I mean, I think he gets a satisfying conclusion at the end of Part 2, at the end of the first book. So he's stuck in his marriage. In the movies, he doesn't have Chani. I mean, he's technically in charge of this gigantic army, but in practice, they're not listening to him. I mean, really, strictly speaking, we don't need Dune Messiah. We don't need Dune Part 3. But am I looking forward to it? Am I going to go and watch it? Yeah, absolutely. I think Villeneuve's a fantastic filmmaker. Thanks for watching.